Story up on ESPN.com earlier today that caught my attention. College football's top 2025 newcomer classes. This used to be a freshman ranking, right? You just look at the recruiting rankings and see what freshmen were going to come in and potentially make an impact. And I actually talked a little bit about that last week, where I don't think there's going to be a huge impact from the freshman class with LSU. I pinpointed a couple of guys, DJ Pickett and Harlan Berry, who I certainly think have a chance to play. And then you look at potentially on the offensive line, maybe Carius Kern gets some snaps. But it doesn't feel like a freshman class is going to be leaned on very heavily. Why? Because you went and signed, 18 transfers now? And you expect to have 14 starters from that transfer class, 13, 12 starters from that transfer class. That's a big deal. So the question is, okay, well, where does that rank amongst folks in college football? And the list was put out by Craig Halbert and Billy Tucker over at ESPN. They have Oregon ranked number 1 as far as newcomers. They got DeCorian Moore highlighted, who LSU fans certainly are aware of. But you look at some of the guys that they brought in as transfers, and one of the names that jumps off the page to me is Bear Alexander, because he's been everywhere, but he's now up there at Oregon. You talk about Mekhi Hughes, who is a big-time running back, and they've got a number of guys that should impact. I don't think that's super interesting to LSU fans, but the next name on the list here is LSU at number 2, second best crop of talent coming in America. They mentioned the top recruits: DJ Pickett, Carius Kern, Solomon Thomas on the offensive line, as well as Harlan Berry. And then top transfers, they go Berrien Brown, Nick Anderson, Bauer Sharp, Braylon Moore, Josh Thompson, Michael Van Buren, Jack Pyburn, Patrick Payton, Mansour Delane, Tamarcus Cooley, Jakeem Jackson, AJ Halsey. You get the point. There's a lot of guys who were expected to make an impact. And what I did when I looked at that list of the top transfers, I wanted to look at it and go, okay, how many starters do I personally think, as we sit here in mid-May, come from that list? Just the list that ESPN put out there. It's not a comprehensive list, but from that list, how many are starters? I would suggest between Berrien Brown and Nick Anderson, that's 1. Because I think Chris Hilton and I think Aaron Anderson are starters for you out wide. So between Berrien Brown and Nick Anderson, that's 1. Both guys should have a big impact, but if you're looking at starters, let's take it literally, I think that's 1. Bauer Sharp, he's a starter if you want that position on the field in the first snap. He's certainly going to be out there early in offense, so I would count him as a starter. Braylon Moore, yes. Josh Thompson, yes. Michael Van Buren, no. Jack Pyburn, yes. Patrick Payton, to me, yes. I think those two guys. I mean, maybe Jamari Butler, maybe Gabe Relaford. I'm not guaranteeing it, but I think both those guys will start. So that's a total of 6. Mansour Delane, yes. Tamarcus Cooley, yes. Jakeem Jackson is a maybe for me. AJ Halsey is a yes. That is 9 starters from that list. And one of those guys that's not a starter is a quarterback who started, obviously, last year for Mississippi State. So that's a massive number. We know that's going to be a massive number. And the question is, how does that mesh? And they had a spring to go through some things, certainly not in the case of AJ Halsey, but the rest of those guys were here in the spring. Thompson for half of it. And then you got summer, and then you got fall camp to get it ready. And you have to be ready to go from the start. And that's the thing about the combination of this transfer portal class, which we think so highly of, and the schedule having Clemson right out of the chute. There's not really any time to work out kinks or get guys gelled or work on communication or deal with any sort of adversity. It's just, here's Clemson, go. And I think that there's a mix of emotions for me between it's great that you brought in all this talent, and then the other side of it is you're asking a lot of new guys to do a lot of new things together for the first time, and they got to be ready to go from jump. And in marrying those two thoughts could be the difference in making the playoff and missing it, because it's a fine line. It's a razor's edge. We just did a segment on college baseball, and you're talking about teams that had a month and a half of bad play that have resurrected themselves. If you have 4 quarters of bad play the first week of the season, you're already swimming upstream. So it's such a positive and then a potential issue at the same time. And trust me, I would rather be on this list than not. Any list you put together that suggests that there's only one team in the country that brought in better talent than you, that's a great list to be on. I think it's absolutely a positive for LSU. I agree with the philosophy. I've enjoyed the execution. I think the roster looks really good. But you can't escape just a reasonable question of like, it's a lot of new guys. Are they going to be ready to go the first week of the season? Because you could argue LSU wasn't ready to go the first game of the season in 22, wasn't ready to go the first game of the season in 23, wasn't ready to go the first game of the season in 24. You could make that argument. A lot of adverse situations in 2022. I don't have a great explanation for 2023 other than Florida State was really good. And then last year, like, I think LSU had a better football team than USC. I do. They lost the game. You just can't afford to keep getting off to these starts. So it's up to the coaching staff, which does have a ton of continuity this time around, to get this group of new players up to speed and ready to go. You'd rather be on a talented list than not. But does it come together? In time. You're already on the clock. So there's the list continues with Auburn at 3, Texas at 4, Texas Tech spent a bunch of money. They're at number 5, Ole Miss at 6. I was looking to see if the 2 LSU transfers made the top transfer list. They did. Deshaun Womack was number 1 on that list. Sage Ryan was number 3 on that list. I'll just caution the folks at Oxford a little bit because I don't know if those are the 2 guys that are going to put them over the top. But Ohio State's at number 7, Miami number 8, Michigan number 9, and then Missouri at number 10. So that's a look. You can check it out at ESPN.com. The article at the top says the college football's top 2025 newcomer class. LSU comes in just behind Oregon at number 2 on that list. Big-time transfer class for the Tigers. Hey, thanks for watching Hunt on LSU. Before you get out of here, do us a couple of favors. Hit that like button, leave your comments below, and subscribe to the channel for all your Fighting Tiger football talk. See you next time.